8. Okay, let's do one that has a fraction with it. This one's got a 1/2. I'll give you a minute to stop the video, and then you can work this problem. Alright, I'm assuming you're ready to see the answer. I want the a by itself, but first I want to take care of this fraction. And like I did on the earlier problem, I'll go ahead and multiply both sides by a 2, because a 2 over 1 is going to reduce nicely with my 1/2. So I have 2a on the left, and this comes to a 1ab, or just ab. Now this is a good time to notice this a and this uppercase A are not the same variable. You could think of this one as an X and that one as a Y. They cannot be combined, and when you're working a problem with two different cases, you need to keep them the case that they were. They cannot be combined into one term. Okay, so I have 2a, and then here I have ab. Remember, I want the little a by itself, so between the a and the b is multiply. I will divide by the b on both sides. On the right hand side, the b is reduced to 1 over 1, and I'm left just with a equals 2a over b, and that's my answer. And we have a couple more. You can try those out. Go ahead and pause the video, and then we'll come back and see how you did. So for number 2, I want to get the y by itself. So first thing I want to do is move this 5x. So I'll subtract 5x from both sides. Then I have negative 3y equals, put the x term first, negative 5x plus 7. Now on the last problem, my y was alone at that point after moving the x term. But in this problem, I do have to divide both sides by a negative 3 because it's multiplied here. I want to do the opposite, which is divide. So divide by negative 3. Take that negative with it. It makes things easier. And divide every term by negative 3. Now this first term on the left, my negative 3's reduced to 1 over 1, and so I'm just left with y equals, here I have 5 divided by 3, and I know that 3 won't go into 5, but I can see that I have negative divided by negative, which is a positive, so I can change it to a 5/3 x, and then I have a 7 divided by 3, which won't work either, but I can move this negative out front, so it's a minus 7/3. So there's the most simplified form of my answer. Now on this problem, it's a challenge level, so they're a little bit harder in general. I want to get the L by itself. So I go ahead and move this term, so I'll subtract 2w because it's a positive 2w here, subtract that from both sides, and I end up with p minus 2w equals 2l. And these two cancel. I have nothing left there. Then I do want it to be L equals, but I have 2L, and they're being multiplied, so I'll do the opposite, which is divide. I can do this a number of ways. One of them would be to put a single division bar like that with the 2 underneath, or I can look at each one. This is back to this line here. P minus 2w equals 2L. I can choose to divide this side by 2, of course. Divide the p by 2 and divide the second term by 2. And there, only if I write it this way am I able to reduce those 2's. The p is still being divided by 2 here. I can't reduce them here because I don't have a matching 2 out in front of my p. So the p still has to be written as over 2. But then I can reduce this fraction and make it minus w, and then those 2's go away, of course, and I have L. So there's two ways to write this answer, at least two anyhow. One of them would be this way here, and the other one using this method would give us L equals P minus 2W over 2. So two equivalent ways to write your answer. Either one is fine. Now on the last one, So on this last problem, I see that I have fractions, and because I have a coefficient on the y, I'm thinking it would be a good idea to get rid of the two fractions. So I look at my denominators. I have a 3 and a 2, and the two of them, one doesn't go into the other, but they both go into 6. So my least common denominator is a 6. So I'll multiply this side by 6 and the right hand side by 6. Now the right hand side reduces easily to a 3. The left hand side, remember, I have to distribute. So my 6 over 1 is being multiplied by the 2/3 times x plus 6, and I don't need it over 1 for this term. See if you can figure out why. And then on the right hand side, I'm left with negative 9 times 3, or negative 27. Now for my first term, I can reduce. The 3 goes into 6 2 times, and I have 4x, and then I have plus 6 times 4 is 24, of course, and it equals negative 27. Now I want to move the 4x because remember we're solving for y. That's this y right here, so I'll subtract 4x from both sides, and I have 24y equals negative 4x minus 27. That was a positive 24y. Now I want the y by itself again, so I need to go ahead and divide this side by 24. And remember, I should break this apart and divide by 24 for the first term and 24 for the second term. So then these 24's reduce to 1, and I have y equals, and 4 goes into 24, so I can reduce the numerator by 4 and reduce the denominator by 4, and this comes to a 1, of course, so I have negative 1/6 x. And then I'm looking at the next term. I know it's negative, and 27 and 24 I can tell are both divisible by 3 because I can add 7, 8, 9, and 3 goes into 9, and 4, 5, 6, and 3 goes into 6. So I'll divide by 3 and divide by 3. And then my reduced fraction is 9 over 8. And there's my answer right there.